Hello and welcome. My name is Andrew Jones. You are listening to The Inner Flame, podcast number 12.
You're listening to The Inner Flame with my dad, Andrew Jones. Dad, feels weird calling you Andrew Jones. Dad, you know all this talk about your soul and the spirit? Well, do you know anything about boys? That's my dad.
That's my dad.
That's 2013. It's a heck of a time to be alive.
On today's show, I'm going to talk with Mary Elizabeth Robinson, spiritual and faith visionary and author of Tomorrow's Promise. She's here to let us know that death is not the end, that the connection to loved ones are not broken because of death, that there can be a life after experiencing a loved one's death, and that a faith in God is crucial to this life and our prayers are heard. Mary Elizabeth lost her mother, father, and brother, which changed her life forever. After losing her loved ones, Mary created a new normal, shifting and continuously shifting her perspective on life. Mary's story is meant to help those who have experienced the same loss and who now may be searching for hope, or to simply inspire others to live a more meaningful life. Before I get to the interview, I'm going to play My Gift to the World, as I think it's a little bit fitting for the interview that I actually had with Mary. If I were to pass one gift to everyone on this planet, if I were to hope, to dare to dream of a time where peace would be throughout this world, I would hand to each and every person the gift of tolerance, the gift of love, of understanding, to see with each other's eyes, to be able to feel with each other's hearts, as well as our own. To see the after effects of the words carelessly strewn without a moment's thought, and the worlds you may crush, the lives you may alter, simply by living a life without being present in this moment, without thinking of your actions, without thinking of the words that pass your lips. If I were to act with kindness, to offer the other cheek, to help pick you up when you fall, or simply listen when you need an ear, how might the world be different than it is this moment? How many lives, how many hearts and souls would we save from despair and the depths of darkness by seeing from another's point of view? By talking with each other, by connecting and sharing, don't we learn? Don't we better cross troubled waters? Can't we grow? All I can say to the doubters, to the disbelievers, and those that love the drama, thank you. Thank you for showing me who I am inside. For I am burning, burning so bright, ever stronger, with a mission in life, more in focus than it ever was. It is from the rubble that I push aside, and I will climb to the heights I see before me. Not with a grimace, but with a determination and conviction. I am determined to be a part of the solution, not the problem. To be the change I want to see in the world. And this is me, hand outstretched, asking, come join me. It starts with a conversation. No one has all the answers. But if you can listen and join in with an open heart, you can be a part of the solution. That is the gift I would give to the world. The more I do these shows, and specifically the more I get out there and I meet people, or I interact with maybe people that have listened to the show, one of the things that is constantly reflected back to me is just how much I am not alone in the way I think, in the way I believe, or I would say no, it's beyond a belief. It's almost a pure knowing, a faith, a blind faith. And the funny thing is, no matter what your angle of approach when it comes to quote unquote spirituality or quote unquote religion, it's at the end of the day, it's the same path back to that source. So we call it different names, we call it different things, but I'm blown away over and over as I continue to do these shows, just how in sync, in line, and in tune we are with each other. It's just we speak a slightly different language, dare I even call it that. So very interesting, and it was very refreshing and heartwarming to be able to take time out yesterday as I was able to interview Mary Robinson. Hello, Mary. So how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Nice to quote unquote meet you.
Yes, same here.
Thank you very much for talking with me, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So what started you on your journey?
Oh, it's a long journey. If you have a second, I can try to sum it up.
Certainly got a second or two.
It started actually, believe it or not, when I was 12.
Okay.
After my mother had passed away, I became fiercely driven with to understand more about dying and where our souls go and if they go anywhere at all.
Okay.
It was just a haunting experience for me. I mean, and losing a parent, it's devastating. And
sure.
I was brought up Catholic, so I kind of knew about heaven and all that and my faith. And so just from that point on, it was just something I was always driven to try to understand more and try to make sense of it all, I guess. It bothered me that she was gone, and I wanted to believe that she was still watching over me and that kind of thing. But nothing really happened until learning more about that was later when my brother got sick, and that was in 2000. So it all came to be then, and my answers were given to me as I wanted to know, and I found out. Okay.
And I mean, I too have thankfully, I myself haven't had an experience such as that yet in my life, but I have had my own quote unquote awakening of sorts. So what were the key things that started to show you what you needed to see?
Well, after my mother died, I just had a lot of difficult times in my life, and then my father remarried, and it was just a whole bunch of emotional baggage. And then my dad passed away of cancer. My mother died of cancer. My dad died of cancer. And then when my brother was 30 or 40, he found out he had pancreatic cancer. And it was just, like, are you kidding me? We couldn't believe it. So it was right when my brother had his surgery to find out how extensive the cancer was. That's when we had like a revelation or miracle. We had messages from beyond, and it was my parents talking and telling. And it was my cousin and my sister. We were in a hotel room in Florida because my brother lived in Florida. And it was just a random thing. We said, let's be quiet and see if we weren't like freaky spiritual people, but it was just, we were so desperate to hear.
Right.
And we wrote everything down that we heard in all the words. And then later, my brother only lived 9 months. And throughout that 9 months, we still had messages and everything I wrote down. And at one point, 2 weeks before my brother died, I had a vision. The Holy Spirit came into my home. I'll never forget it. I got up and wrote it down. It was just like an amazing thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was just like evidence to me that, and all the messages that they had said was that your loved ones never leave you, and they always watch over you, and they're never really gone, even though you can't see them. And I know that's cliche, and everybody says that, but it kind of gave, like a concrete evidence to me that there is a heaven.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of the things that they said were not like random things. It was specific things that only someone being there could know. And obviously they weren't physically there, but so that's what happened. And when all that happened, I was like, oh, this is like great. People have to know this. I wanted to share it with everyone. And that was in 2000. And for 10 years, I was trying to write and trying to get my story published. And it was kind of a difficult task, and I never succeeded. So I decided to self-publish just the portion of that when I got sick and all the messages and things. So that's why I want to, I just feel like people could really, the people that have read my book, that have lost a loved one, it's really helped them and given them some peace and closure. And that's why I want to get the word out more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Many believe in life after death. What's your thoughts on possibility of life before birth?
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Because I believe,
or existence, maybe, in some form.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe that we come here, and I believe there's more to this life than just, working and things. We have a bigger purpose and discovering who we really are. I know that my brother told me that after he passed away that there's more to this life, and he said this didn't happen by mistake. This awakening, if you will, didn't happen by mistake. It was designed at the time of my birth. So I do believe that there is a life before we come here.
Right.
Yeah. Do you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes feel as though I'm waking up to almost remember, and it's on the tip of my tongue so many of the times, and it's so frustrating because I feel 2 nights ago I actually felt as though I was peering through the eyes of Andrew, and I'm not really just Andrew. So it was such a strange and odd occurrence, something very new for me. And I was just sitting down watching TV, and just all of a sudden I felt as though I'd walked into a booth at some workplace and sat down in a chair, and I was seeing what I was seeing, but reality was I could have probably sat down in any other booth.
Yeah.
Hard to wrap your brain around it completely, but
really neat.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I've had experiences where I can honestly say that I've been guided by those that have passed on, such as my grandparents. Have you had any such?
Oh yeah. All the time. And I can sometimes I absolutely, when my mother passed away, I felt like she was always around me, and she guided me, and they do. They say they can't change your, make you do things, but they can help you and guide you. And I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I've had instances where things have moved in my house, physical things.
Yep.
And It was just crazy several times in this house, and then in another house that we lived in when my kids were little, and it was just creepy. But I believed it was them, and I knew my dad because he was a jokester, and he would always do things like that, and I knew it was him.
What have you found to be one of the keys in your life to keeping the faith during hard times? And not only that, but how do you turn the tables when you just want to, you're just so close to the edge of lashing out and being a lesser graceful being?
Right. Well, now I've been there many times. I just feel like faith, I think being brought up with faith is key, because I think without my faith, I don't know where I would have been, because there have been so many times in my life, not just when I was about to lose my brother, because I mean, we were all literally, like, I would have probably jumped off a bridge, because if I hadn't gotten those messages, and I think that's maybe why they came, because they knew we were all desperate for answers. And I just feel like our faith is something that you need to survive in life. And another good point that I always make, and especially about losing a loved one, because people get stuck in the grief, is to, you have to experience grief, and it's not going to go away in a day. You have to feel it. You have to grieve, but you have to heal. You can't stay in that portion of your life where you're feeling so sad. You have to learn to move forward. And I think having faith can help you do that. I know it's important to feel grief. I'm not saying that anyone that hears my story isn't going to ever feel sad that they lost a loved one. But what really brought me peace was when my brother passed away. I was so happy for him, and I know that sounds weird, but
no, not at all.
He was going to see my mom and dad, like that alone, like helped me so much to visualize that he would be in their arms the moment he passed over. And I felt like he was the lucky one, but because it'd been so long since I'd seen them. But to know that they're at peace, they're in a better place. I know that's what everybody always says, but if you can take it literally and believe it. And the key to one good thing that I've learned is that not being bitter when you lose a loved one. I mean, I know it's hard, but not to hold on to that bitterness, and it's sad, and I know all that, but not to be bitter is a really a great thing in the eyes of God. Like that gives you such light, like, in your life. And that's what they told me after my brother passed away, is that I wasn't bitter. I couldn't find one thing to be mad about. I was like so sad he was dying, but my God, he would be rid of the pain and all that cancer. And I just felt it was healing for me at one point.
Yeah, that's I too feel the very same way. It's funny, we come at this from the same angle / different angles and what have you. The show I produce weekly is really just about helping people to wake up and find whatever path it is that makes sense to them. I was not raised religiously. I was meant to be Methodist. And what have you, but and I've been married in a Methodist church and what have you, but I've found my own path through the hardships, and I've come to learn that they're not. I do not feel that life is a test. Do you feel that life is a test, or do you? No.
I feel that everybody goes through struggles, and I feel what's. After, I didn't know this right away, but in fact, after my mom died, I'm like, okay, that's it for me. I probably won't have anything else ever bad happen. And I don't feel like it's a test, but I just feel everyone has struggles, and I feel like it helps to reveal who you really are and reveal your soul. it like peels away surface
Yeah.
and gets to who you really are. So.
Yeah. One of the things, I'm actually 8/10, let's say, of a way through my first book, and I've had one seminar so far, which was a little bit, it was a learning experience. But I'm on the same path again. It's just something. It is a greater purpose. I think that we're all brought here to discover ourselves and to align ourselves as much as we can with who we are, with our soul, with our spirit. So physically on this realm, we have all this baggage and we encounter all these issues because of who we are, our ego, our upbringing, where we're born into and what have you. But as soon as you discover, and I've always said to my children, and my daughter eloquently put it the other week, and I said in last week's show that one of her kids were saying, they were just, one of her friends was saying that she was repeating something that her parents said, and well, what's the point? You're gonna get older, you're gonna get a job, you're gonna get married, and then you might have kids, but then you'll die. And my daughter turned around and said, Dad, I told her, no, life is much more than that. There's much more to life than that. And I just thought, you know what? Take me now. I'm done. My job is done.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And it's been very interesting and standing my ground. Have you found it any instances where possibly you've had to stand your ground, being true to who you are, not selling out to your beliefs?
Because there's so many doubters, and if people could just know the things, and I do not pretend to know everything and to know everything about the afterlife. I just want to share what I've experienced, and I truly feel that this desire of mine to spread this story has been within me since probably my mother died, but it has surfaced once I got the messages when my brother died, and I can't let it go. It's just like it's kind of become my purpose. Everything else has taken a back seat because I don't care. I don't care that, that I don't have a job that pays a lot of money. I'd rather just spread the word about this and help people. If I can have people say, your book has made me change who I am and help me get through a difficult situation, that's all that matters.
Yeah. I absolutely believe heart and soul that, those of us that are driven to do things are because there is a greater purpose, whether it's realized as we grow up or as before we actually come here, what have you. I mean, I can trace back in situations in my life where even at the age of about 7 or 8, I saw it, and I wasn't into magic or anything mystical or anything religious. But at the age of about 7 or 8, I just thought, wow, this is a really cool moment in my life. And there's something very, I don't know, it's hard to explain, even otherworldly about it. But not knowing at that age what to... and even looking back in retrospect, it's hard to, but it was one of those key points in my life that I knew was a defining moment. If you go back over your life, do you find that even before these things happened to you, did you find that you were a certain way?
I did, and I felt very different than everyone else. Like I felt like I felt different because I lost my mother, but I felt so different. I knew more others about certain things, and I also felt very different. I used to write in the snow. In my book, I tell this part. When my mother died, I wrote a message in this. She died in the summer, and I think it was that winter, because I felt like she was above us and she'd be able to read it.
Right.
She was heaven floating above me. And I wrote her a message that I missed her and I loved her or something like that. But who does that really when they're 12 years old? I mean, who would? I was just so connected to that God and heaven and this life. I know what you're saying, and I think I used to have dreams too, and I could see people in my dreams. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even like a figure in my room, and I still do. I believe that too. We're guided. We have angels and spirit guides, and I sometimes wake up and can see them stand. Like, it's so weird. It's kind of like an out of body thing for me. Like I'm dead asleep, but I'm awake, and I see like a vision in my room, and I'll wake up my husband and go, "Were you just standing by the bed?" And he'll say, "No, I wasn't even in the room." You know, so things like that. I've had a lot of that thing.
That's fantastic. Yeah. I've had more stuff happen with my eyes closed.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I've had, like, I rest my head on the pillow and then I'll see an image, and it's not, and this is all new. This isn't, it's not like I'm imagining what my coffee looked like today. It's as though someone's holding up an image in front of me that I have no control of. And I'll see it transform from one thing into another, and it's such a gift on some level, and I've taken from it, if anything, just the fact that I'm transforming in some way, which is nice, or I'm able to. So yeah, I'm not sure how all that's gonna unfold. I'll be a swami. Yeah. I'll be some psychic card reading swami next month, making money $15 at a time from my readings.
That's awesome. Oh, that's funny. But that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just funny how it seems to affect. There's something going on, and I think, you know, even my girlfriend, she doesn't like really talking about this stuff. She was raised with religion and certain thoughts and beliefs, but this isn't stuff. I love talking about this stuff. I could talk to the small hours of the morning, you know. But one thing I said to her was, you know, I told her about the first thing that I saw months ago. And she said, "Well, it's funny you should say that." And then she told me all the stuff that she's been seeing. So, you know, for someone that keeps so quiet, I think oftentimes that it's a case, if people would just embrace and not be afraid, that they might open themselves up a little bit more to what's going on.
Yeah, I was reading through some of my messages today, just refreshing my mind. And one of them was, my mom said, after she was gone, she said that the reason my faith has brought me this gift, but the reason you are able to receive the messages is because you're open-minded and your heart is open. And she even said if she were on earth right now, she probably wouldn't believe it. I just feel like people have to have an open heart and an open mind, and you can connect and do, you know, many things with it. I think if you're, I don't believe, you know, if you don't believe in it, then it's, you know, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I've said that many times over the last few weeks, that you need an open heart and an open mind. And I think that's in general for life anyway. It's just it's one of those key things that once you've made your mind up, you know, it's kind of a bit of a closed book. Then it's hard to tell any more of the story. And
I think it's better to think with your heart anyways, because your heart, I think, is connected to your soul. So when you close your mind off to things,
absolutely,
So
with all of that, I see in the one sheet that was sent through for you, one of the key points was how Mary believes witnessing all the pain and the suffering and abuse was a gift. I do. That's how I feel about some of the situations in my life now. And some people, it's funny, some people say, yeah, but she did this to you and that happened to you, and you forgive. And what if you don't, you're only hurting yourself in the end.
Right. Right.
So that's your philosophy?
Oh yeah. I feel like all the pain and the suffering brought me to the divine. I feel like if I had never experienced any of that, I wouldn't be talking to you right here, right now. I just feel like it all unfolded for a reason.
Absolutely.
And I definitely believe that. I feel, even though it was painful and I hated every minute of some of those times in my life, I chose not to hold on to it and be angry, because the only person I would be hurting would be myself. If you hold on to that anger, you just become an angry person. So I tried. I mean, it was hard. I'm not saying instantly. I was like, oh, I forgive. It was years.
Yeah. It was years.
It was years. So, in fact, a lot of times after my mom died, I kind of felt sorry for myself a lot of times. But then I realized, that's not going to get me anywhere. And it happened. Let's, move on and, try not to dwell on it, but learn from that pain, feel it, learn it, and, try to move on, even though how hard it is. But
no, exactly. That's, again, precisely in the last seminar a few weeks ago, I said, stop wallowing in your own self-pity, because it's not what it seems. Some things are there just to trigger emotions and things within you to help you become greater.
Yeah. And I feel like I probably wouldn't have known this if my brother hadn't passed away, but my mother said that it was her time. Like, she left 4 children. She had cancer, and my youngest sister was 5. So I'm sure it was very hard for her to just walk to the other side. I mean, I'm sure it was painful for that alone. Yeah. But she said it was her time. That was her path. I think we all have paths, and I think, it's painful, but we need to accept everyone's journey. And my brother, he said the same thing, that it was his time, and he never had kids. He said his soul was put on this earth, and the soul knew he would not have kids. And so I think everybody has a purpose. You don't always know, what it is exactly, or why. You might think, why me? But it turns out to be more of a blessing than pain, I think, in the long run, because you can learn from it, and you can teach others, you can be more empathetic, you can help others, just like, I always, try to do when I hear someone losing a parent or a sibling or whoever. It's just like, I want to reach out and, be there, because that's what life's about.
Yeah, I found this last few years. Now, for me, it was a little bit like coming out of the closet, because so I on Facebook I made a massive announcement, and I just said, look, I've had enough of not being an authentic self. Yeah. It's time you all know who I am, what I am, and that's it. I just want to be true to that. Yeah. And it was over the top, but in a way that allowed me to, because I knew for whatever reason, I had to get in front of people. And I'm scared to death of getting in front of people until I'm actually there. Then when I'm there, it's all good.
I know.
But what was the transition from you to go from, everyday person to phone booth with a cape?
I think mine was more of when I decided I can't sit around here. I became very impatient with spreading the word. Like, I wanted to tell the whole world, actually, and all the ways I was trying there was nothing happening. So I became impatient, and I was like, I got to get this message out somehow. So I decided to self-publish. I really didn't have the money, and it cost a lot. And then I thought, after it got published, or after I self-published, it cost more money to get it marketed and out in front of people, and I didn't have any more money. And so I had to do it on my own. But I went on Facebook too, and I announced it to however many friends I had on there that I had this book. And I was just like, I can't be sitting here with this incredible message to keep to myself when I could help others, no matter how little. So I did go on Facebook. I didn't say what you said, but I said, here's a book I wrote.
Yeah.
Here's a book I wrote. Please check it out. And I got a huge response, and everybody was buying it and reading it. I loved it. And so I had a really good, good feeling about it.
Oh, that's great. It's, I've always said that I didn't want to be a traditional 9-to-5 person. Financial situations demand that I certainly need to be right now. Yeah. And it's not like this path comes with a road laden, at least at the moment, with gold, but I keep manifesting that.
It's true.
Yeah, it's tough, and I think that's part of the. I almost said test then, but I think I think that's part of the. It's almost a little bit like when you go into martial arts. They will teach you all of the defending moves, and all the while you're kind of screaming out inside just to show me how to do a kick or a punch or an attack, and like no, young one, you have yet to learn. So. Yeah,
right. Exactly. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. So it's an interesting life, but I stick unwaveringly so and belligerently so at times. Are there many things that you found that, going back, I guess, to what one of the other questions is, do you feel that you've had to strike a compromise anywhere? Like, for example, for myself, I've had to. There's Dee, my girlfriend, so she's more in the, as she likes to remind me, the real world, and
like my husband.
Yeah. So are there things that you?
Yeah, all the time. And the one thing that you were saying is that you had to work 9 to 5, and I have struggled so hard with working 9 to 5 because I just feel like this is not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
All the time I'm like, this is wrong. I'm not supposed to be selling furniture, because I worked as an interior designer in a furniture store for 12 years. And I'm like, I got to get out. I need to do this, but it's just like, you need money, what you were saying, 9 to 5. And so that's one thing I struggled with. I just, no one understands that it's not my purpose I don't feel right. I just felt so out of place. And it was an internal struggle for me. And my husband too, he's a realist. He doesn't believe in all this stuff, even though he's a Catholic too. He doesn't believe in it. Yeah. And it's been like me trying to convince him. And like, especially when I see people in my room and I ask him, and he's just like rolls his eyes like I'm a crazy lunatic, So those areas. But my kids, they support me, but they're like, Mom, but you need to work 9 to 5. And I'm like, I just need to get I need to get my story out. I mean, they support me, but yeah, it's been hard in those terms.
Yeah, it sounds like we're living very similar lives. And again, it's if you take away the religion or that aspect of it, it's the same. The underlying message is exactly the same. Do you see that there are, in today's world, people around you, that people are changing, that maybe more people are waking up more often these days, finding their own spiritual path?
Yeah, I think people,
or do they hunger it and they're not really sure?
I think they want it, and I think I think a lot of them want proof that there is life after death, even though they don't talk about it, and they might not even be religious. But I think they want to know, but then I think it's hard for them to believe it. I don't know if it's maybe, I don't know. Everybody says, well, they can read your story, but it's not gonna. That's you. That happened to you, and And I say, yeah, it did happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen to them, but I'm just saying, I think a lot of people, when you share your story, personal struggles, in stories, people really learn from that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no better way than to learn life lessons than to hear a story of that. I mean, that's what people crave. It's the heaven story. I know that.
Well, I think as well, someone was sharing a story on Facebook about where diabetes, one of the major hospitals were saying that sickness, cancer, and diabetes was caused by, and they went into all these various topics and reasons, and someone responded, they've heard this story 1,000 times and that nothing in this story was new. It's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, I'm a type 2 diabetic. It's basically down to lifestyle and the way I've not looked after myself. You wouldn't know that I'm a type 2 diabetic, but I'm determined to heal myself. Mm-hmm. I see it as a chipping away and what's going to be the last straw. So what I do is I read as many of these stories and videos and things that people post, even though I know mm-hmm. it, because it just helps to reinforce, right. And it reinforces again and again and again. And 2 weeks ago, I was having 3 or 4 coffees a day. Each coffee would have 1 sugar mm-hmm. in it. Well, that was not good in any way, shape, or form. It was just sugar syrup being poured into my blood, basically. But today, when I do have a coffee, I no longer have sugar in it. So something tipped the scales, and I think that's what your message will do for some, is it will tip the scales for some people. For some people, it would just blow the scales away and they'll be your, followers until the end of time, know, and that's just how it works. You're going to have all sorts. And I'm sure you've already discovered mm-hmm. that have you had any speaking engagements yet?
Not yet. Not like huge, just like local churches and stuff, but not.
Well, that's something,
Mm-hmm.
Tipping the scales for someone and helping one soul, mm-hmm. and they in turn tell, 5. It's the best pyramid marketing scheme that there is going.
Yeah.
I guess karmically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your next steps now as far as getting the message out?
I want to get the message out, and I want to take time and maybe do another book, because I hardly included anything from before that time when my brother was sick. So I would like to go back to start over, do a prelude or prequel, I guess it's called, and start from the beginning. And that's what I'd like to do, but because there's so much more. There was more pain and suffering in there that I didn't even include. I most importantly wanted to share the part about heaven, because I thought, this is like huge.
Yeah.
Who would just keep this to themselves? It just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I asked myself that question quite often when it's almost like I'm sat in disbelief at how the world can continue on spinning day to day. People can go out to their jobs, they can get up, sit down, watch mindless TV all day, mm-hmm. and yet there is such, I call it magic, because it covers so many different beliefs. Yeah. There's so much incredible magic going on mm-hmm. in this world, and people, so many have not woken up to it, and I don't want to shake them and wake them up. I mean, all in due course, I'm sure, but it's mind blowing mm-hmm. when you finally do wake up. I just find it absolutely mind blowing that people don't look at it for what it is. It's
a lot of times, like my sister and I will talk, and And we'll be telling some story about, I don't know, just how someone overreacted about something so trivial. We always
Mm-hmm.
say, it's just like they haven't woken up yet. And we always say this must be their first time here.
Right. Yeah.
Really, like, it's just, I guess you see this world differently when you've been through the things, we have. And the one thing that I love the most is the description. I asked my brother to describe in detail what happened after the moment after he took his last breath. And that's like my favorite part in the whole story. And it was so descriptive. I just loved it. It was like, so what I wanted to know and hear. And I mean, it was just unbelievable. So
Now, did your brother have any preconceived ideas of what things would be like?
he never spoke about them. I mean, he may have. And before my brother passed away, like, we were in contact with my parents, and we would tell them, things that they would want us to tell them, and be in contact with him and tell him that they were, there and blessing him and watching out for him. And like, they never came out and said, okay, well, he's not going to make it, but they always made us feel hopeful, and that he got more time because he prayed. And I think prayer is important too. I think our prayers really do get heard, even though people might not think that. They made it sound like they do, and I believe it.
No, absolutely. I believe communication on that level is very important. Mm-hmm. I speak quite often. I ask for help quite often, and I've come to understand too when to ask for help. Not like, oh, where do I put my car keys? I mean, in two life or death situations, I've asked for help, and I mean, I kid you not, it was like out of a movie type miraculous gas station appearing in a blizzard when I could have swore I drove down that road and nothing was there. And I was almost empty. It's just, and feet of snow, multiple feet of snow back in 92, 93. But, just incredible. I think it's very important to ask. But then if you're asking, then that denotes that you got to have some sense of belief, and many people don't. So,
I just feel like faith is believing, and just all power can't be seen. We can't see everything. Like there was things they couldn't tell me. They'd always say you wouldn't understand. So
exactly.
So I just have my hope, and I pray all the time. I ask for guidance on certain things, and
it's very important.
Strength. And
what was maybe one of the most mind-blowing things that possibly your brother told you from the other side?
Well, first, I have to tell you that right before he passed away, he never told any of us, but he was sexually abused when he was young. Like, no one knew until like a month before he died. And so when he passed, he said that the best part was that someone was there, and they said, you were a child of God. All this pain and suffering is gone for now. And my brother didn't believe it. He said, I didn't know I wanted to be good, but I didn't want to bring the cancer. And then he said that he knew the love of our Father, because when he said it was like you see a little brief glimpse of your life kind of thing, like a movie. Mm-hmm. And he said, and I'd never experienced such love from our Father. I felt such peace, because when I saw the bad parts, when he was being abused, he said, I felt such love and forgiveness, and all the pain was gone. I mean, I just thought that was amazing.
Incredible. Incredible. Yeah. I've listened to many stories, read books. I've listened to the audiobooks from audible.com. And that too might be another route for you to go to to transfer the book into audio. What I was going to say was I've read and listened to so many stories through Audible, and according to the individual's beliefs, that was their experience of the afterlife. And it's all so complicated, and I believe you that there's no way that we could explain. And I think some of the issues is that when people try to understand things and concepts with their puny human minds, as the Hulk would like to say. But it's when you kind of step out and you put all of that aside. I think the one thing that I keep seeing is that whatever your firm beliefs are, and I've wondered if your afterlife is going to be whatever you conceive it to be beforehand, or just, it's a question I have, only because of all the different stories, and some are so similar, but some things are very, very different. But they're the most credible people that you would ever want to hear a story from. So I do believe almost all of those stories. One other thing that he said that just resonates with me is that he said that so once he got over there, and then he said there was like a celebration with people he didn't know, but he knew that they were souls because they loved him so much. But yet you wouldn't feel that way if you were around a bunch of strangers on earth. And he said that he had to go now and phase into this part of his soul to find out who he truly was, who his soul truly was. And he had to go on a journey, he called it. And then he said that, and then he mentioned that, the things here on earth that we worry about and stress over, it's just not important. The only important things are your family and love, and that once you get over there, there's no worries, there's no pain. It's just love. Yeah, that's great. One of the most profound books I've read in the last number of years is Conversations with God, and I just feel like he's hit the nail right on the head. So absolutely fantastic. Well, Mary Elizabeth Robinson, such a fantastic conversation. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for talking to me, because I don't get to chat about myself, about that portion of my life that much to anyone here. So
it's very freeing, isn't it? So would you like to tell the listeners about how they can contact you and get your book?
Okay, I'm sorry. It's just MaryElizabethRobinson.com is my website, and they can go on there and find where my book is. It's on Amazon.com too, and BarnesandNoble.com. It's called Tomorrow's Promise.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go check out a copy for myself, and I will... I look forward to it. And thank you so much.
Thank you. You take care.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, there you go. There you have Mary Elizabeth Robinson, the author of Tomorrow's Promise. So check that out. A lovely lady, and a fascinating book. So I'm certainly going to look to get myself a copy of that to read. So this past week, today being Wednesday, the 17th of 2013, I think it was Monday, the bombing in Boston. Sadly, a few people now died since then, and a bunch still in hospital with injuries. So obviously, it goes without saying, my heart and my thoughts are with those affected by this horrendous act. There's 1,000 things that could be said, but I'm just going to end the show right here, just sending all my best wishes, love, and my thoughts are with those affected by the tragedy. So that's it. Thank you for listening. I will speak to you this time next week. I got to line up someone to interview for the show. But other than that, I might just go a week without interviewing someone because I got quite a few bits and pieces to say. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Probably just have a show all by myself. But I got lots to do. I got a lot of homework to do by then around the house and to make sure some money's coming in. So I will speak to you soon and have a great week and love to you all. Bye-bye. I think what I'm going to do actually is just sign off today's show with the song that Emma and I put together. Emma being my daughter. So about this time last year, I believe, roughly, or even maybe 6 months ago, we created this little song. So it might be a little fitting. So I'm going to sign off with the song that we created. And it's called My Gift, but so is the other one. So I'll leave this one as unnamed. Meanwhile, somewhere out there in the world, why is life so tough? I can't take much more of this.
Hey, over here, listen to me. Sometimes the stars and planets align, bringing into focus all those little synchronicities. Sometimes it seems like chaos is all around, when really it's just order falling into place. When life seems upside down, give it a moment to settle. It will turn right side up. Amidst all of this, remember you are never given more than you can handle. When you find yourself in a moment of joy and happiness, cherish it, hold it in your heart, and send that feeling, that emotion, to someone that deserves it. By doing this, you will help slowly change the world, one heart, one smile at a time. This is my prayer, my request, my gift to you.